Hello learners, I am teacher Jonathan and welcome to EasyElimu Learning Simplified. In our lesson for today, grade 4 mathematics, we will be working with geometry, and in our geometry today we'll be looking at 2D shapes. 2D shapes, and today we'll be identifying these shapes in our environment. 2D shapes in our environment. And I would like to pose a question: how can you identify 2D shapes? How can you identify a 2D shape? And to start on, in our previous class, we learned different shapes that were found in our class. Now, I would like us to pair up and we try to remember or to recall some of these shapes that we learned in our previous class. And I will start with John and your partner. What shape can you remember? You can remember different shapes that you learned. Yes, you remember a shape like a triangle. That was a shape you learned in our previous class. Another shape, Jane, you can remember. Yes, a triangle, a rectangle. Triangle was said, a rectangle. A rectangle was another shape that you learned in our previous class. Even in our previous lesson, we learned when we were working on area, we learned how to look for these different shapes. And today with me, I have some shapes. Remember, this is a shape. This is a shape over an object, I don't know. And this is another shape. I also have another shape like this one. And I will also have another shape like this one. You also learned a shape like this. That is a shape that you had learned earlier. Now, but let me take away this, and now we measure on these three table here. In our previous lesson, when we were learning cubes and cuboid, we learned that a cube has all sides equal. It is made up of square, and this is a square. It has equal sides. All sides are equal. We have also learned of a rectangle. A rectangle, we said, two sides are longer than the other opposite sides, and that is true. And also, we didn't learn of this, but also we have this, a triangular shape. That's another shape. Now, my question is, in our groups now, my question is, what is a 2D shape? What is a 2D shape? That is where we'll start. A 2D shape is an object with either length or width and height. It's an object or a shape that has two sides. A 2D shape has two dimensions, and these two dimensions are width and height, or you can call it length and height. Those are the two sides of a 2D shape. So a 2D shape has two dimensions. It has two dimensions, and I've said these dimensions are, it has width and it has also height. It has those two dimensions. These are the dimensions that are found in a 2D shape. And for us to start, just observe this one. It has this side and it has also this side. If I raise it up like this, if I pick it and just allow it to stay in this form, it has this side and it has also this side coming up, the width, and we call this one height. This is a 2D shape. We can also look at the rectangle. It is of the same shape. It has this longer side and this other side. It is a 2D shape. The same case, it has this side and you can also look upwards. These are 2D shapes. Now, learners in our groups, I would like us, we identify some of these 2D shapes that are found in our class or in our school. Anything you can see bearing either of these shapes, and we start with Victoria. Any bearing of these shapes. Victoria is telling us of our board bears the shape of a rectangle. So this is a 2D shape. It has this, and it also has this one. So it bears two sides. So examples, In our locality or in our class, we have the board. Our board, which I'm writing on, has those two sides. We have just identified the board. Any other bearing this shape? Yes, Tom. Any other bearing this shape of a rectangle or a square? The door. Good. Door. Our door also has the shape of a rectangle. Another thing. Victor, you can tell us the manila paper on the wall. Very good. It also has this side and this side. So a manila paper bears those two sides. Manila paper. It is also found in our class. Another thing that is in our class bearing this shape. Yes, Wangari. Wangari is telling us of the exercise book she is writing on. It has the two shapes. The exercise book has the two shapes. So a book has those two sides. And now, let us think of anything else bearing any of these shapes apart from these ones that we have learned. Maybe you can find it in our homes, because homes also is a part of our environment. Any other thing that bears this shape, it can either bear this shape of a triangle, it can also bear this shape of a rectangle or of the square, but also you can also find another one with this shape. So, and this, John is very happy. John, you can remind us, what can you say about this one? John is telling us a ball bears almost this shape. So a ball lies in this category because it is found in our environment. Ball bears that thing. Yes. What else? Who else can remind us of anything else that has the shapes, the 2D shapes? Remember, the key for you to identify a 2D shape, it has these features. It has these features. Now, learners, in our groups now, as we have identified this, I would like us also, you trace them. Do they have this, the things we have mentioned, do they have these things or the key features of a 2D? If, for example, we come to this manila paper, the manila paper, it is bearing the longer side, it has a longer side, and it also has this shorter side. This is a shorter side. If we use this other manila paper, it has a longer side here, this is a longer side, and the shorter side, according to this paper, or the cutout, is this one, the shorter one. So manila papers bears this shape. You can trace and say, yes, correctly, this one resembles, even if it's a bit smaller, but it resembles this one. Door. Can this resemble our door? Yes, it can resemble. So our door has a shape of a 2D. Now, I have a question. What about our homes? Can you identify another 2D shape in our homes? Yes. With this shape. When you go to the upcountry to visit your grandmama, we used to have the round houses which are thatched with grass. The roofing almost has this shape. So this shape is a triangle. We can trace and say the house, the rooftop of that rounded house is almost of this shape. So that is also a 2D shape. Now learners, I would like us, we draw first these 3D shapes on our board. Draw the 3D shapes we have said, and a rectangle is an example of a 3D shape. That is an example of a rectangle. We also have another shape. Make sure you label them in your groups as you do them. We have that shape also, and we also have another shape which has all sides equal. In our prior lesson, I said to make sure it is equal, I use these short lines there. Now, what are the names of these 3D shapes? We have said this first one is a rectangle. Rectangle is a good example of a 3D shape. We have a triangle, is another example of a 3D shape. And we also have a square. We also have a square is another example of a 3D shape. Learners, after we identify this, now I have a task for us to undertake. And this task is very simple. Now, trace other objects which bears these shapes. Now, not in our class, but even outside the class, but within the school compound. Trace them, and after you trace them, make sure they have either a rectangle shape, a triangle shape, or a square shape. And once you trace them and you find surely it almost resembles this, just write with the rectangle shape. I have for example, the goal posts. The goal posts, if you can trace it very well, it almost has this shape. So a goal post is an example of a 2D shape. Learners, this marks the end of our lesson. But remember, you can also identify these 2D shapes, objects still in our homes. And when you are doing so, remember to engage your guardians and your parents and your siblings to help you identify more shapes bearing the 2D shapes. Let us meet in the next lesson.